In 1963, President John F. Kennedy laid out his vision for space exploration, and he challenged our nation to land a man on the moon within the next decade. And this vision and its subsequent accomplishment is a picture-perfect example of how vision and mission can inspire us to do great things. But what you may not know is along with this vision is President Kennedy also gave NASA a list of values to help the NASA engineers along the way. And one of those values was preservation of human life. Now, if you've ever watched Apollo 13, you can see how the NASA engineers lived out that core value as they worked tirelessly to bring the astronauts safely back home. You see, mission and vision are extremely important, and you've heard Pastor Ryan talk about those. But one of the things that holds those together are our core values. So what are core values? Simply put, they're shared convictions that guide our actions and reveal our true strengths as a church. I'll say that again. Core values. They are shared convictions that guide the actions and reveal the true strength of our church. Here at Kingsland, we have 5 of those, but what they do for us is they guide our long-range planning. They help us even hire staff, and even they guide the basic decisions that our ministry leaders make on a day-to-day basis. But as we explore these for the next few weeks, I want to give you a couple of reminders and even a challenge. The first reminder is this. These core values, yes, they describe who we are, but guess what? They also describe who we have been. Over 8 years ago, when we started to put words on paper, we began to codify exactly what are these core values. We did that by simply listening to stories. We heard stories of families whose lives were changed because of Kingsland. We heard about God's answers to prayers. We heard stories about people serving their neighbor, about going beyond locally and far away. We heard story after story of God's hands on the people of Kingsland. So yes, we're talking about these core values, but they're not new. If you don't believe me, you can ask some of the people that have been here from the beginning. They've been living these out since day one. Next, I want to simply challenge you. These core values are not just for us as a church organization. They're for each one of us individually, as a family, and as a home. So I want to challenge you to perhaps, as you're studying these, is to do this simple exercise. When you look at these core values, is simply add afterwards, demonstrated by. For example, let's use the example of selfless influence. You can say that, I or my family, we demonstrate this core value by, and list out some actions of how your family is currently living that out. And it's amazing to see how each one of us lives those out in different areas. And lastly, I want to share this with you. Core values are more than just what we do. I want you to think of it as also what motivates us to live out all the things that we accomplish and we strive for each day. They help us understand where our personal resources go, our time and our energy. They remind us that we are Kingsland. Now we're going to look at the core value of empowered homes. I love stories of dreamers, people that turn their dreams into reality. People like Walt Disney, Truett Cathy, many others, as they inspire us to dream, but they inspire us to move that dream into reality. From a Christian perspective, as we can say that if we look at the Bible, it's God's vision casting for all of us. We see throughout Scripture as God gives His people commands to obey. He gives them a vision of what that looks like, and then He empowers them to live that out. So today, as we begin to talk about the core value of empowered homes, I want to read a piece of Scripture to you. And it's in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 5 through 9, and it's called the Shema. And many of you have heard this preached over and over from Kingsland. Listen to this. Hear, O Israel, Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children. You shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. You see, in this passage of Scripture, as Moses is not only describing what the Israelites must do, he's also giving them a vision of where spiritual transformation should take place. In the home, it's the vision of an empowered home. And this passage of Scripture beautifully captures what we mean when we say empowered homes. Our core value of empowered homes simply means that we believe that God has ordained the home as the primary place for His image to be reflected. It's the place primarily that we see spiritual transformation, discipleship. Even the hub for all of life's relationship is in the home. And we also see the God-given responsibilities as parents as the primary faith trainer in their home. Our core value of empowered homes also means that for us as a church is we have an obligation to come alongside parents in this role, that we seek to equip them, to train them, to challenge them, and to encourage them in this role. Our core value of empowered homes drives how we live out and plan our family ministry strategy. But here's what we also know. We also know as we look at this passage of Scripture that sometimes reality, there's a messy middle between that and the ideal. When you think of empowered homes, I don't want you to think that it's a perfect home. No. Sometimes an empowered home is a single mom or a single dad raising their kid. Sometimes an empowered home is grandparents raising their grandkids. Maybe an empowered home is also a blended family working to make two families one. It could also be a group of singles living together. An empowered home could also be a family that opens their home to foster or adopt. I could go on and give you different examples of what an empowered home is. But I think for all of us as we know it, when we see it, an empowered home strives to love God with all their heart, their soul, and might. They seek to raise up a next generation of believers. They seek to impact the world one generation at a time. That's an empowered home.
Hey, thanks, Pastor Brad, for sharing about empowered homes and explaining why it's a core value, what that core value means here at Kingsland. But today I'm joined by an awesome panel of our staff to talk about not just the concept of empowered homes, but to talk about how it's seen and felt here at Kingsland. And today I'm joined by Curtis Lane, our North Campus student pastor, if I can say it right. Laura Hearn, our preschool minister, and then Megan Landy, our Empowered Homes director. Friends, welcome. We're glad y'all are here today.
Thank you for having us.
So as we talk about how we see and feel empowered homes here at Kingsland, we'll start with Meg, our Empowered Homes director. When we say parents are the A team and the church is the B team, what does that mean?
Well, what we really mean is that the church takes more of a supportive role, and we want to empower parents, and we want to help marriages grow, and we want them to understand that we are resourcing. We want to resource them. And so, if we're talking to a parent, we don't just say, hey, it's your responsibility to disciple your kid. Go do it. Good luck. Right? Good luck. Yeah. Figure it out.
2023.
Yeah. No, we want to support and empower and provide resources that help them get the win in the home, right? A team being at home. And so that's really where even our website came from, empoweredhomes.org. We wanted one place for all those resources to go. And we've worked together to publish those resources and be able to freely give them out.
Yeah. And empoweredhomes.org, what I love too is many people may be like, what is Empowered Homes? Maybe it's something separate. It's designed for Kingsland. Like unapologetically, everything that we have is from preschool ministry, the resources that you guys create, student ministry resources you create. It all goes on there. But Meg, share a little bit. Most people don't know that it's not just used by Kingsland.
No. God's really positioned it in a really cool place where we get to partner with other churches. Other churches use our resources and we get to be open-handed. And so he's asked us to just be like, hey, this is what's working for us. We've found great success. Our parents are using these, marriages are using these resources. And so we want to open-handedly give them. And so other churches have been using them and we've been able to partner, and it's been a really cool thing.
It's been really cool, which is another core value that we'll talk later is selfless influence, but that's why we're open-handed with it. So Empowered Homes, if you're on the site, just know everything's curated for Kingsland, but we purposefully don't put Kingsland on it because we have so many partners. And
that's what's so great about when we, write these articles or when we pour into this is like, man, I really am pouring this into hopefully my North Katy student ministry and the parents that are there, because the A team and the B team really is true in that like my parents are the best discipler for my kid. Absolutely. God chose them. God did not choose me. And I won't be there for their first kid and maybe their wedding and all those different things, but their parents will. Right. And so I was chosen to be with them for a season, but the best way that I can pour into my kids is through their parents and through what Kingsland does through Empowered Homes, but then also just everything else that we do, like really saying, hey, parents, you are the number one.
Yeah, it's so good. And as we talk about, Empowered Homes and parents being the A team, Laura, how does this change events and programming? Because we have to tweak a little.
I know we have tweaked a lot, you know, and so we really try not to do events where you'd come, you drop off your kid, you leave, and then come back an hour later to pick them up. We really want to get parents involved. We really want to resource parents. We have something called Journey to the Cross here at Kingsland, which is on Good Friday. You go through the Stations of the Cross, and it is completely parent-led. The parents we give them a handout, which is also on Empowered Homes. Yeah. They lead their families through it, and it's just a beautiful time to just see those parents empowered to really disciple their children. Also, baptism here at Kingsland. We want the parents to baptize their children. What a great example of them being the primary faith trainers in their homes.
Yeah, it's so powerful to see. I love being a part of baptism and seeing moms and dads baptizing their kids so that we can celebrate what God's doing, and we're encouraging parents like, you have what it takes to be able to lead your kids in this way. And not to knock anybody or other churches, but a lot of times there's this disconnect of like, oh no, I can't do that. But we're empowering parents to be like, no, you can. And here's how God has wired you to do these things. It's amazing. And so with Empowered Homes, not only do we try to be intentional with our programming and our events, we also are strategic. And one of our big strategies with equipping parents is our legacy milestones. Curtis, tell us about legacy milestones.
Yeah, I mean, legacy milestones for me really is Kingsland saying we're going to put our money where our mouth is. Right. We are legitimately going to spend time, effort, resources, programming delay to actually stop and say, hey, we want your family and your parent-child relationship and even your marriage to stop and take a moment for a milestone. At Kingsland, we have 7 milestones, 1 through 7, but a lot of those numbers do not actually numerically go in that order. When it comes to dedicating your family, like you could have an 8th grader and a 10th grader, but just join Kingsland and you just come to the faith and you want to dedicate your family to the Lord. We want to stop and make those milestones worth what is happening in your home, because not everybody has that perfect family situation going on. But what happens is we actually say, hey, we want you to stop and to talk about purity. We want you to stop and talk about the birds and the bees and your biblical marriage and actually moving towards growing your home. And so for me, when I think about our milestones, I think about it's literally us putting the ball on the tee and saying, now you get to swing. We want to resource you. We want to give you the moment. We want to give you the time. We want to give you the effort, all of those things so that you can swing and actually hit the ball and understand that really wasn't that bad. A lot of our kids, they freak out about the purity milestone of like talking to my parents. And it's like, hey, we talk to you. We talk to your parents, and now guess what? You get to talk to each other, and we're actually going to force that issue. And they go, wait, you're going to, I'm going to do that right now? We're like, yes. And it's just allowing our kids and our parents to realize like having those easy swings really does transfer away from the church, that I can actually have this conversation at my dinner table, in the van, on trips, all those different things. But if they don't get that easy swing at the beginning, it's really, really hard to push family discipleship in that way. And so milestones are a great way for us just to give them those easy swings. Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier when we were talking that it's not just, we have 7 that we're strategic with here, but we're also encouraging parents to leverage all the milestones.
Yes. Because out of those 7, it's like there are 100 more milestones that family should celebrate. Right. Everyone has a different kid, a different marriage, a different walk with Christ that is, to be honest, should be celebrated and taken a moment to stop, to communicate, to equip, to challenge. But within that family, you're going to be able to know, hey, this is a big milestone. Let's not just skim over this. Let's just not run to the next thing. Let's stop and take a moment and just make this a stone that we put down in our journey as a family as we walk towards Christ, and make that moment.
Yeah, and an empowered home leverages milestones. One that we have here at Kingsland, there's 7 that we have here, but also leveraging those big milestones that are in every kid's developmental life. How can you leverage those for discipleship is what we encourage as well. And so on top of milestones, Meg, we also offer a ton of other great things for parents. What are some other stuff that we have?
Yeah. You know what I really love too is that it all is mirroring the Deuteronomy passage about, right, walk along the way with your kids, and it's the milestones and our unique families. And so some of the classes that we also offer support marriages and parents. We have parent open forums and equipping classes. They cover topics like technology, communication. Bobby does understanding your parenting style. The preschool ministry does the birds and the bees, right? Foundations for purity at preschool level, things that maybe parents don't even think about talking about. Right. When they're that age. I love Curtis. He likes to tag on moments for parents and kids to come together at the end of an event and teach parents to pray with their kids, maybe something they haven't done before. And so what I love about all those events is it's the church and the home connecting together, partnering together, working together, right? No perfect families. None of us. None of us have perfect families. And so we want husbands, wives, moms, dads, singles, grandparents, empty nesters, everybody in between, right? To be equipped to lead gospel-centered lives in their homes, right? That's what Empowered Homes is all about.
Because, I mean, your home is really defined by who you share the dinner table with.
Right.
Like, who do you share life with? And so regardless if you're married, regardless if you have kids, regardless of what stage you are in your marriage or just your own life, we want to make sure that you understand you have a home that you're empowered to lead and be resourced for. And so as we continue to grow that, we want our people to know our heart in that, and knowing that your home is exactly what God wanted you to have, even if it might not be what you think is perfect. Right.
Yeah. And empowered homes, why it's a core value. One, it's biblical. You know, as Pastor Brad mentioned, God established the family before the church. And so we want to connect church and home. And those of you watching, we just hope that you got to see and feel how Empowered Homes works its way out here at Kingsland. Guys, thank y'all for having the discussion today. As we continue to look at the series, We Are Kingsland, our hope is to bring clarity, unity, and encouragement for you today.